Alright, hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious and today we're going to be going over Skyblock Update 0.23.2, which is the Terra Tier 5 update. There's a lot of stuff to go over, but before we get into it I just want to say, please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot. Use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, to start off here today, Skyblock 0.23.2 is a Slayer update adding the 5th and final tier Spider Slayer boss, being a step up from the Tier 5 Revenant Horror. I've already gone over a lot of the features of this boss, but we're going to briefly cover things here again today. They also rebuilt the Slayer from the ground up, right? So not just Tier 5 is brand new, Tier 4, Tier 3, Tier 2, they all have changes. I think Tier 1 is even a little bit different as well. And basically, the biggest things that I have to say about this boss nowadays, from Tier 1 to Tier 4, is that now it just activates a lot more as a anti-heal boss. It kind of tries to reduce your healing from Tier 2 onwards. And at Tier 3 and higher, it adds Web of Lies, which allows webs to be thrown on the ground. And basically, this is just where it spawns egg sacs in the air that you have to break in order for you to proceed through the boss. There's also the bats at Tier 4, which are really annoying and you have to deal with them. They are also immune to magic damage and make the boss immune to magic damage, so you do have to get rid of them, otherwise they will take your max health. Tier 5 actually doesn't have any crazy new abilities from Tier 4, other than the final ability, which just basically gives it a second health bar, but it can only use passive abilities during that phase, so you're just kind of bursting him down once you get to that point. Since the admins know that we have stockpiled a ton of Spider Slayer RNG meter XP, they're not going to allow us to get the new chase items immediately. They don't want the market to be flooded on day one. They want to give everyone an equal chance at obtaining the rare drops. And while I could be getting the rare drops myself, I'm making this video for you guys, so you know what, I'm missing out on some money. Looking at the new items here, there's the Tarantula Fang, which is a new upgrade to the Recluse Fang at Spider Slayer 6, as well as the Vial of Venom. You can consume it up to 5 total times for plus 5 crit damage. There's also a similar item for Zombie Slayer, I believe. I think that one gives you defense. Looking at Spider Slayer 7, there's the Shriveled Bracelet. This is a new bracelet that gives you some stats in the Spider's Den for people who are interested. I really wish this would also give you stats in the Crimson Isle, because a lot of people do Spider Slayer there, but whatever. There's also the Primordial Armor, which I think since the alpha has been made an additive buff rather than a multiplicative buff, meaning you're not going to be able to do insane amounts of damage, but this is still a half-decent armor set, really good mid-game set in my view, and I think it's going to be very useful for getting people into things like, for example, E-Man. So I really like this Primordial Armor, and that's at Spider Slayer 7. Spider Slayer 8 has Sting, another upgrade in the Spider Slayer swords. Keep in mind, though, that the Scorpion Foil is not part of the progression. They said that this was going to be the case on Alpha. They did not do it. I am not too happy about that. I hope it gets added to the progression, or it gets moved somewhere else and made a little bit better, because currently it's just not in a good spot. But as you can see, the Sting itself is very good. 250% damage to spiders, as well as 45 combat wisdom. It's just another Slayer sword. Very good stuff. There's also the Primordial, which is actually in a great spot, I think. This drop is going to be something that people want for sure. This gives you a 10% chance after killing a Slayer boss or Slayer mini-boss to cocoon them. And when that enemy is cocooned, it will hatch, and it can be killed again. This can also be stacked. That means less downtime, more slaying. I really, really like this item. Also at Tier 9, we have Tarantula Minion 12. For the 7 crazy people who made the Tarantula Minion 11, please, for the love of God, get rid of the Spider Minion at every single tier of Tarantula Minion. I hate that you have to have those to craft it, or just add super crafts for that in a proper way, please. There's also some other Spider Slayer changes here that are pretty notable. The biggest things that I want to go over here are they added an ability that buffs the base stats of the Tarantula pet by up to 50% to the Tarantula leggings, which is pretty nice. The Spider Egg Mix-In now grants you plus 15 crit damage. It already did that on main, I believe, so it's kind of funny that they, wrote that again. They adjusted the Mosquito Bow. It's now a short bow, which I actually really like. They've also increased the amount of combat XP required to spawn Spider Slayer bosses. So Tier 2 went from 600 to 650, Tier 3 went from 1,000 to 1,500, and Tier 4 went from 2k to 3k. So that's pretty notable. They've also reduced the cost of the Tarantula Boot's double jump ability from 40 to 20 mana. Pretty nice. They've also added the Kudra transfer thing where you're able to swap your Kudra armor type, which is super good. And also they've added a change to event rewards. So now they expire if it has been 10 or more Skyblock years since they were given. So now is the time to claim those rewards if you want to. Then looking at damage reduction fixes, we have quite a few things here. The TLDR here is that they felt like people were able to get crazy amounts of damage immunity through damage reduction. So now a lot of this stuff is corrected. The TLDR, once again, is that a lot of these things are nerfs, especially to the Endstone Sword. That ability is just way worse than it was before, and now it's just a lot harder to get close to 100% damage reduction. Obviously, this is kind of going to change a few things. People are not going to be able to stack damage reduction and just be basically immune. You're going to have to use certain items in order to do that in a different way. A lot of these things, though, got changed to multiplicative reduction, which is just weaker than additive reduction, as you can see. There's also a ton of bug fixes here. I think also they made a bug fix with the Habanero Tactics not working, which is super good. Very happy about that. However, there are a few things that I want to go over in-game. First of all here, I do want to show the process of actually spawning and doing one of these bosses. They are not the craziest things in the world to do. I feel like they're fairly reasonable, but I am also relatively later in the game than a lot of you may be, so keep that in mind. I'm just going to be going over it in a basic level, just showing you here's what you need to do in order to get this done. Alright, so having summoned the boss, you just do damage to it. You kill the bats, which as you can see they spawned, but they were instantly killed. You break the egg sacs. Then you damage the boss some more. He then goes into his 33% health phase. You damage the egg sacs, you can shoot at them, so it's not really too hard to get rid of them. And then the boss becomes this dual boss here. And then you kill it. That's it. Nothing really too crazy. It's not the most nuts boss in the world, but it is certainly a little bit enjoyable in my view. Definitely not as monotonous as it originally was on the alpha. What I will say here is that while the boss is in actually a really good state, and I think a lot of the drops are as well, I do have some problems. From my experience, or from what I heard, the amount of digested mosquitoes you need to max out the new mosquito pet is just kind of ridiculous. If you look up recipe mosquito, it's just kind of a lot. I know it obviously looks like only one here, but that gets you the common rarity. And I think it goes up to like 32 total or 16 total digested mosquitoes in order to max it out, which I know on Iron Man is going to be a major pain and just super unrealistic. They probably need to dial that back. Another thing that I wanted to go over here is that the Scorpion foil is just not part of the progression. They said it was going to be because they just made it a lot worse. As you can see, damage is lower, strength is lower. It's just not as good. This probably needs to be looked at and either made part of the actual Slayer mainline progression, or they need to take this and make it a lot better and use somewhere else. Because at the moment, it's just not good, and just killing the item for no reason doesn't really make sense. Generally, while the update is good, there is obviously a few things that were just left out here in terms of moving from the alpha to main, and I don't understand the reason for that. They didn't really write the reason on their post, and I kind of hoped that they would actually give us a little bit more information about when these things are going to happen, or if they are still going to happen at all. Like, for example, the Reforged that was supposed to give you a 2.5% chance to cocoon any mob, that just didn't happen. I wonder if we're going to hear about that in the near future. Hopefully we do, and let me know what you think about the updates down below. The admins do in fact read things like Skyblock news comments, so feel free to do so. At the end of the day though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.